Hello, welcome to the short video on 2021 IB Chemistry exam. So this video aims to cover general tips to mastering your responses in paper 1 and 2. We won't be covering too much on the syllabus, so make sure you visit this video after doing your revision to remind yourself on some of the strategies in mastering your responses. So this year, the IB Chemistry examination date is on May 14th for both paper 1 and 2. Because of the pandemic, paper 3 has been removed. So what this implies is paper 1 and 2 are becoming much more important in determining whether you get a level 7 in the end, especially your paper 2 that has become 50% of your final gradings. So today we'll go through some of the essential skills needed to master paper 1 and 2. Paper 1, your non-calculator paper. So the math in this paper will most likely to be simple. And one of the skills that students generally struggle with is time management in paper 1. So we'll just briefly go through this. For HL, you have 1 hour for 40 questions, which means 40 marks, and for SL students, you have 45 minutes for 30 questions, in other words, 30 marks. So simple calculations, how much time do you have per mark? That leaves you with around 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes per question or per mark. So that means if you're unsure about a question, move on. Do not drag on a question for 5 minutes and miss out on 5 markers. Generally, when you're approaching multiple choice questions, elimination is a useful skill. So if we look at this question, which shows the number of subatomic particles in a phosphorus ion, because it's a negative ion, that means number of electrons greater than number of protons, right? So because electrons have negative nuclear charge and protons have positive nuclear charge. So we can therefore eliminate answers that have a greater number of protons than electrons, which are B, C, and D. So that leaves us with only one possible answer, which is A. So in paper 2, questions generally cover multiple topic concepts, so they display the interrelated nature of different topics, and calculators are allowed. In paper 2, each question is broken down into many parts and subparts, and if you're not sure about the format, look at some past papers. In terms of time management skills, again, for higher level, you have 2 hours and 15 minutes for 95 marks, and for standard level, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes for 50 marks. So that leaves you with around 1 minute and 25 seconds per mark. Just the same as skills in paper 1. Do it as fast as you can and do not drag on if you don't know the answer. General examination skills for answering long questions. So firstly, make sure you show all your workings. So sometimes you make mistakes throughout the process, and if you don't get the answer wrong, that doesn't mean you get a 0 for the whole question. So by showing your process, you can still get a few marks, even though it won't be the full marks. Secondly, how many points do I need to cover? And that comes down to looking at how many marks the question's worth. In this example, compare the structures of diamond and graphite. Bracket 3. So that means you need to cover 3 points in your answer in order to get full marks. The command term compare means giving similarities and differences. So if it's a 3 marker, that means you can give 1 similarities, 2 differences, or the other way around. Just on top of my head, similarities can be for diamond and graphite, they're both bonded in giant network structure, where they both have carbon atoms covalently bonded to other carbon atoms. In terms of differences, it can be in terms of hybridization. That carbon in diamond is sp3 hybridized and carbon in graphite is sp2 hybridized, or the differences in the presence of sigma and pi bonds. So in diamond, only sigma bonds are present, but in graphite they're both sigma and pi bonds. Just elaborating a little bit on command terms, these are a few that are very commonly seen in paper 2 questions. Make sure you know all your command terms, not just the ones on the table, also the other IB command terms, because they will be very useful in your chemistry exam as well as your other exams to know what the IB examiners are looking for in your answer. So pause this video and read through this. Just some final tips for paper 1 and 2. Firstly, know your basic concepts really well. For example, in stoichiometry, know your conversions between mole and particles, mole and mass. This mole bridge may be useful in helping you understand the concepts. Secondly, memorize your definitions, and this is useful for both paper 1 and 2. Create some kind of glossary for yourself. It can be in the format of this table. In the IB, whenever they tell you to define something, they're looking for a very precise definition. So make sure you memorize the IB definitions beforehand, because making it up on the spot will not give you the mark. For a definition, it can also show up as a paper 1 question, just like this one. Next is uncertainties wise. Again, uncertainties can show up in both your paper 1 and 2. The first example here is from standard level exam paper in 2019. So asking you about how the measurement should be recorded. The answer here is B, because of the decimal places in the uncertainties. It has to be the same as the measurement. Here I'm just showing you uncertainties. Is a very basic concept, so do not lose mark on this, as it can show up in both papers. In terms of propagating uncertainties, this is more common in paper 2, when they specifically ask you to present your final answer as absolute uncertainty, for example. So when you're doing addition or subtraction, the final uncertainty is just a sum of absolute uncertainties of the measurements. But if it's multiplication or division, then you have to find the total percentage uncertainties of the measurements first, and then convert the final answer from a percentage to the absolute uncertainty. In the last stages of reviewing, make sure you go through many past papers, and one advice that I will give you is to familiarize yourself with the data booklet. When you're revising, use highlighters to find where all the key equations are and what are the key pages in your chemistry data booklet. Take note that some tables contain data on multiple properties, like table 6, of course, commonly used periodic table. Table 8, for example, has information of first ionization energy, electron affinity, electronegativity, all in the same table. So make sure you know what you're looking for and where they are annotated when you're practicing, but do not annotate your data booklet in the real exam. Finally, memorize some of the key equations and values. For example, just know the molar gas volume, Avogadro constant, molar volume of gas at room temperature and pressure, or at STP, standard conditions for temperature and pressure. Also, molar mass of some of the most commonly used molecules, like H2O, has a molar mass of 18.02 grams per mole, ammonia 17.03 grams per mole, or carbon dioxide. Okay, so we have gone through some of the essential skills for approaching paper 1 and paper 2 answers. So I hope this video is useful. Rest well, and good luck to all of you on your IB exam.